Hello, hello. Oh. 1 second. Connections. Reconnect. Connected. Okay. Should be working. Today I have something to say. Cactuses are beautiful, by the way. Mysterious, Cthulhu, Lovecraftian, and so on and so forth. So I plugged in the mic, DJI mic, through the receiver. I can show the receiver. That's the receiver. And yeah, LifeStreamer app. I made some changes. So this is I've been using for last couple of days like modified version, and yesterday was a little bit glitching when I'm changing cameras like this, and it's okay, it will always glitch a little bit, but it was certain type of glitching that I'm working to minimize. And especially, yeah, at the moment I'm focused on the built-in cameras of the phone, but also external cameras next. But I have started with this for now. And just before, well, right now it's like, it's actually kind of late. Meaning I have like a schedule in my mind and that I like to follow. So currently I'm going out for a cup of coffee, and usually during my walks it's a good time to test things outside, to test my IRL setup outside. And after many iterations, like, it's pretty minimal. I have just one phone and the second phone. Second phone is purely for Wi-Fi and the second SIM card, so it has a, and then I can do other things on it, like monitor and things like that if I need to. But anyhow, it gives me lots of options. Basically, two phones, and that's it. Well, that's it in terms of. Yeah, I do have this mic, which is it has this tiny, still big. I feel like they could make it even smaller, and it's this weird. Anyway, there's a few things are optional, and I have a backpack with me with a few things if I want to test. And also my setup. This is what I have on me, but then I'm sending the signal to the Australian Bella Box server. So I'm sending my video and audio there, and that means I have an OBS at home that is watching whatever is on that server. And the reason I'm saying this is just before I left, my daughter was like attacking that computer, trying to press all the buttons, spam all the buttons, and so So if somehow miraculously she hasn't powered off that computer, then everything will work okay. She's like, sometimes she's like pulling the cables and like spamming, like I said, especially the power button, it glows. Anything that's glowing, she will try to push that. So somehow, let me check. I can go to stream body and I will do server info and I will let you listen as well.
Demetsu says server info. Demetsu says scene live bitrate 7475 kilobit per second, FPS 30 dropped due to network, 0.0% rendering lag, 0.0.
So that means it's working basically. That means my computer OBS is sending, is publishing a stream. That's what that means. So that's working. But usually I don't really have that much to say. Like it's all I can say. I can say only like about this rabbit hole of IRL setup. IRL setup is one big rabbit hole, and you can spend years talking about it and endlessly tuning it on two giant dogs just staring at me. So that's exactly what I'm doing, and besides this I don't actually have much to say. There's not a lot I can say. But what I am working on in particular in this last version, it's a high FPS. And it's not only high FPS. There's a way to that I can sort of, I can call it unlocked. Usually with my phone I could only set it to 30 FPS, so now I can set higher settings. But the tricky part is I disconnected the built-in camera. The built-in camera, there's a lot more to it, but essentially for simplicity, let's say it can only output 30 FPS. For third-party app like mine, it can do 30. But then there is a video encoder on this phone, and that video encoder you can set any kind of crazy settings. You can probably set 240 FPS, no problem. So your source can do, you know, 30, but you can output 240 or 60 or however much you want. But it means if your source has only 30, you have to either duplicate the frames to make more frames out of those 30 frames, or you have to put in black frames when you don't have a frame from the built-in camera. And plus the fact that they are disconnected, the source and the output, the input and output are disconnected. And I say no matter what output, inputs might change. I can have different sources with different FPS things, but my output will always be running at certain FPS no matter what. And actually something I kind of knew but I didn't, or just recently I realized like I understood it more in depth, that what you can, what's the right word for it? It can be input driven or source driven, or it can be like output driven. So there is a system where the output doesn't necessarily constantly generate frames. if there's no frames from the source coming, it's not generating frames. So the current version of my app that's released, it has that kind of like a source driven frame generation, and I guess I switched it for this version to the output driven, where it's like it doesn't care, because it makes more sense if you, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. So basically that I feel like it makes more sense to constantly generate those frames no matter what. Doesn't matter if your source can have more frames or less frames, but then the output, like there will be something in between input and output, and it will like correct it, if that makes sense. So there will be a bit of that correction, and meaning if there is some mismatch of FPS input and output, like it should either drop extra frames, or it should, like, when it's expecting a frame but it's not coming through, it should either, like I said, duplicate or render black frame. I think for the most part it should be duplicating the last frame it received, but there are a few edge cases and so on and so forth. But so that's that. So that's what I'm working on, because I realized what I had right now. The way it works, there's like 3 steps for FPS. We hardcode the list of like the settings we want. We say, okay, let's say we want 30 FPS, 50, 60, 100, 120. And that's the list. We want the ideal list. We don't know if your video encoder supports it or your built-in camera supports it. So in version that's released right now, we have this list. It goes like 30 and 60. Maybe there's like 25, 24, 30, something like, I can't remember off the top of my head. It's a small list, and then we say, okay, what does your built-in camera support? We filter this list. If some of them don't get supported, we like remove them. And if your video encoder doesn't support it, we remove them. So this list gets narrowed down based on what video encoder supports and what built-in camera supports. But if both your built-in camera and video encoder support all the values from this list, you're good. And sometimes there was an extra check. Sometimes there was kind of like a third check, where sometimes when you pick specific resolution, in that resolution it might not support it, basically. So there was the extra check anyhow. So I removed a couple of these checks and added a bunch more values. So now I have the list something like 24, 25, 30, 60, no, 50, 60, 100, 120. So that's the list we want. And then I removed all the checks for the built-in camera, and I'm like, it doesn't matter if your built-in camera supports these values or not. And then we only check if your video encoder supports these specific values. And what video encoder, how it reports, what it supports, it's in ranges. It just gives you like a range. It says I can do anything from 15 to 240 or something, and then you check, okay, how my desired values, or however you want to call it, desired numbers I picked are in that range. Great. So you can actually set it, and then you say, okay, we'll create the thing that's constantly spamming the frames at that rate. Like video encoder always generates frames, where before it was not. Before it was only generating frames when it was waiting for the source to give it a frame. If there's no frame, and source doesn't give you a frame, output doesn't output a frame. And that means that sometimes there were gaps. And so if when you switch in cameras or whatnot, there's like there could have been a gap where you just don't have any frames. So you generate a sequence of frames with gaps, and then what's bad about that is that you depend on the player. Like you create a video stream that will be played by a player, which is usually a media source in OBS, but could be other things. And you will depend on the player, like what will player do when there is a gap? Like will it do? Like let's say for I don't know how many seconds there is no data, no frames. Maybe the audio, the weird part is like audio is constantly generated, like audio is keep going, audio frames have been generated, but video has gaps, so that means not every frame has audio. No, the other way around. There's always audio, but there's some of them don't have video frames at that timestamp, and basically there's a gap. And then what player is usually doing, it's gonna freeze on the last frame it received, and it's gonna just wait for the next frame to arrive. But sometimes it gets confused and it starts refreshing and so on. And then there's other things where something I realized, usually there's like a keyframe, which is like a full frame information, and from that keyframe then like a difference every next frame there might be just like small portion of the information. So when you switch in cameras, you might have like the keyframe at a weird spot, and then the difference is based anyhow. So you have to be careful about these keyframes, otherwise it will glitch, the player will glitch and get confused. So that's another thing I added last night. When I'm switching cameras, it should be adding extra keyframes, and it should be less glitchy, I guess, overall. So that's what I'm doing right now. Like when I'm changing a camera, the audio technically keeps continuing fine. Nothing happens to the audio. The audio is fine, but what's changing is the old camera stops. There's a little bit of a gap, and then the new camera starts. So during that gap, currently there's no frames coming. So in that case, my new code should constantly generate black frames, and each black frame will also have a timestamp. And that's important because these players, they're a bit sensitive about they like to have at any time the audio has to have the matching video frame with the timestamp. So the audio is fine, but then video has gaps or some weird timestamps when it's changing cameras. The player can get confused, and like it's doing something weird basically when it's playing those kind of moments. So I was a bit like I know that's a lot to take in, but yeah, I was looking into that. It's not my strongest, I'm not like a specialist in this thing, but I understand it to a certain degree, and I'm like, yeah, I can fix it up. So especially now I have this feature where you can like play the music and switch frames while you're walking around. Like yesterday I was streaming that stream where I'm just like walking around, the music is playing non-stop, and there's been yeah. But sometimes during the switching, like I said, there are different things happening, like the frames are missing, and when player in that stream is being played back in OBS, it can glitch out. So long story short, I added extra keyframes on the transition. There's a few other small things. It's gonna be even harder to explain this. I don't even fully understand it myself, like a few other things that I fixed. rendering surfaces and timestamps and things like that. So yeah, that's what I'm testing today. So I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee and then I'm gonna maybe play some music and switch some cameras and finish at that.
We'll stand in line. We'll stand in line. We'll stand in line and face the TV. Stand in line and face the TV. Stand in line and face the TV. Stand in line.
Okay. I got a cup of coffee. Thanks for the follow. Call me Vicky. Like I said, today I'm just testing something. The switching, in particular of the built-in cameras. Like what is the issue? Like it's just not very smooth. Sometimes it can vary based on the device. But there's yeah, I can make a few tweaks to allow it. What's the best way to say it? To increase the chances of it being smoother and less glitchy. It will still be a little bit glitchy, but not as glitchy. I hope. There's a few of these things that I'm working on. I have like a list of different things I could add, but yeah, whatever is on top of my I guess I do some of these tests and I just, yeah, I have a system of prioritization, triaging things. But the way I like to structure this work, in my head, there's like a core, there's a certain core logic that should, that most people should need. And I get the feeling that core logic, yeah, whatever is, anything that's added to the core logic, I need it, other people need it, so everything I add there, most people benefit from, including myself. And I feel like this app was originally started kind of like as an app for myself, for certain things I wanted to do. So I do want to keep it that way. And I'm like, people come and go, and maybe at some point no one is gonna use this app, but I'm gonna use it. So I use it for myself, if that makes sense. So at least I do what I need to do. I try not to get, but like I said, there's a good chance that there's like an intersection of the features that I need and most people will need. So I'd like to focus on those. And in that core, the reason this feature is in the core, and I was thinking yesterday that like most people can probably be happy streaming full HD 30 FPS. And I think what I have released right now can do that, as far as I know. But even on my phone, the 60 and higher, anything higher than 30 was not allowed. And the reason is a built-in camera. Whatever built-in cameras reported as supported, it was a limiting factor. But then I realized there was some people coming with like, there's still a way to connect like cameras over USB with higher FPS or RTMP. And I realized, well, this is somehow wrong. Like I should definitely change that. So that's what I'm focused on right now. But sometimes I play around with some feature like that and I decide not to do it or like pause it. And there might be other things that are easy to implement and good value for everyone and so on and so forth. So it's a balance, it's a skill depending on how much time I have. But I think what I have already, what's there, what's available already in production for the LifeStreamer, it should cover most popular cases, I guess. Most common setups. Full HD 30 and so on. But okay, I need to drink this cup of coffee. I'm gonna play some music and switch some cameras, and we can enjoy that switching is better than yesterday, I guess.
As I step onto the bus, I thank the driver loudly, loud enough for all the bottom deck to hear how grateful I am, to hear how incredibly polite I am. Getting off after riding in the front seat of the top deck, I simply nod to the driver's mirror. I don't have to repeat my thanks, cause everyone on the bus already knows how much of a nice guy I am. Outside the cafe now, I open my book at a random page. The page number doesn't matter, because I'm not really reading. I'm alive, 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 I'm alive. A friend approaches, they ask me what I'm reading. It is the first thing they ask me, I'm dizzy and inconsolable. I tell them it's one of the most important works of literature ever written, but it doesn't scan as a joke. And scrambling for conversation, we talk about our jobs, the low living wage, we prize out an emotionless way, and a sublime sense of the indelicate whenever we mention anyone other than ourselves. I gesticulate. The waiter signals. A baby cries. We are all searching for the same words. I'm alive, 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 I'm alive. It seems some people only exist just to prang me the fuck out. It's like we've both decided to look out of a train window, only for the view to be obscured by dark trees the moment we do. And now we're both too scared to look away, so we play.
Well, you've always been an uptight, swipe right, nightlife type with low morale. You're seeking for a new script, quick.
What else can I say? This feature also last time I released the output of the device, of the Droid device, and kind of like just because I have this test and I walk around and I listen to the music, that was one of the ideas to have some button to quickly like switch to recording this music. Originally I wanted to mix the microphone with the music, but that was somehow a lot more work, so the compromise was just to have one button that switches only to recording the essentially the music and record other things, just because how I use this thing. And it's funny again that this app originally was not really for this, it was for external cameras. Originally the idea behind LifeStreamer was to allow using my action camera with it and yeah, a bunch. I have a bunch of them. And then I was purely focused on that. But then I realized actually I go on these walks. There's a few other, like people just, I realized some people don't mind using just whatever built-in cameras that they have. So I thought, okay, some things I appreciate myself. Anyhow, so one thing led to another, and that was like one of the doable features. And a few things around that were like it was unlocking, improving a few other things that I use for other things. So it all kind of like made sense. In particular, I thought birds are swooping me, which maybe they do. Anyhow, I lost my trail of thought. Maybe I'm gonna go that way for a bit. I don't have much time as always, but this looks good. This tree, majestic. Let's switch cameras. So basically, anyhow, I was watching Twitch and there was one guy, I guess with IRL Pro, and he was like switching cameras, and it was okay. It goes to black and then new one. And I feel like the way IRL Pro switches cameras, it has a bit more like a second of black screen, and that hides some of the glitchy. The cameras themselves, they have some glitchy frames when they just turn on or turn off. So IRL hides that with some black frames, but black frames, that's one thing. You still need to put in probably some keyframes and other things. And that guy, the creator of IRL Pro, and people, I guess, supporting him, I don't know what their relationship is, but they are, I guess, professional, the video people or something, video engineering people. They know what they're doing, unlike me, where I'm just more of a, I don't know what to call me. I have an interest in this, but it's not my main work, my job, encoding videos. So yeah, I have some general programming knowledge, and I've using my common sense and a bit of research, I can figure out a lot of stuff, and a bit of AI. Okay, let's play music for a minute, and I will drink coffee, and then I can tell a few more things. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, this footage is probably super shaky, but I just don't want to make a big deal out of it. I'm just walking around doing some tests. It's not supposed to be super cinematic. There's certain things I'm focused on when I'm doing these tests, and I care about that. Not just everything, not just making pretty picture. That's why maybe some of my last streams are a little bit weird, but just because those are not like normal IRL streams, those are like either tests or yeah, actually normal. I don't like normal, but I have certain things, like I said, that I am focused on, that I'm doing. Like currently, yeah. Sometimes I feel like when I'm just by myself and I have these thoughts, they are so easy, like I understand everything, but when I'm trying to say it out loud, it doesn't come out as good. So it might be hard to follow what I'm saying, basically. But there's like another criteria, is sort of a streamer experience, if that makes sense. There's one thing that goes out and what ends up on the stream, and another thing is like what is streamer seeing and like monitoring. So I have all these like different tools to monitor and to do different things to make it so that streamer, if there are any issues, can like narrow down what the issues are. So there are some things are not visible on the final video, but I know, you know, they happen. So that's a big part of the monitoring. For example, when I'm even switching different cameras, like I feel like what goes out on the stream is fine, but technically the second output is the preview. The app has a preview, and that's separate. Those two are separate. So for example, there's one source, there is one build, well, let's say the camera of the phone is one thing, and it goes through a pipeline of different, like it's been processed, and at some point it has two outputs. It goes to stream and it goes to preview. And even, yeah, those two can be different. They might have different resolution and different other things. So sometimes for monitoring, it's the main two options are either make it more low latency, make it lower quality but fast, so that person, like artist or talent, whatever, streamer in this case, can quickly monitor and like needs very fast feedback to correct the behavior or whatnot. But then if the monitoring is fast, it's like different, like it's and sometimes it's confusing when what you hear during monitoring sounds and looks different than what goes on stream. So I actually, my philosophy is I made it made the settings go match what goes to stream. Like it's slower, it's not as low latency, but the quality, it should be the same quality roughly as what goes to stream. So there was a choice, an interesting choice that I made, things like that. And I enjoy this kind of creative process, and I have full control over it, which is pretty nice. And so far what I need I think what other people need and be like on the same page, but sometimes it can diverge, and naturally to make it work in the sense that it makes sense to other people, it's a bit more work and so on. I feel like if I was truly building app just for myself, I can cut a lot of corners and make it look ugly, and I don't have to polish as much. But to make it work kind of like for myself, and plus think that some dumb people potentially might use it as well, and they will be confused, to make it easier for other people. And you know, there could be a big range of different people to just kind of like target, make it easier to understand for people with various backgrounds and things like that, and different ages. For example, there are some tech people who are good with like using technology, but they are not, you know, actually when I started building this app, I understand how many things work under the hood, so I have in-depth knowledge how everything works. But there's a lot of people, they just have rough, like they have made up explanations how it works. Yeah, that's a and that's that. Anyhow, I think I need to finish soon. Was I switching cameras? Let's switch more cameras and finish, because I'm running out of time. So currently I'm focused just on switching, I think, just the built-in cameras, not the external cameras, not like USB, not the camera connected over USB or RTMP. But I'll need to double check that. Sometimes what I worry about is I had to change code deep in StreamPack SDK. So my app is using StreamPack SDK, which ideally I don't want to change it much. And anytime I change it, I try to make it as like one change that's really clear, because periodically well, in the code we have like every change is like git commit. It's like you can actually go and have a look. So I try to get rid of these extra changes from time to time. Sometimes StreamPack adds some of the things I need, and I feel like I don't need to have my custom overrides. So ideally, if I can keep that list of changes on top of StreamPack as small as possible, that's ideal, because StreamPack is always changing, like, and it's done, you know, by guy in France, and he can do whatever he wants, and I need to periodically sync up his changes. And if I that alone, even if I didn't change his code, that sometimes he changes things that affect my app, but if I change his code, that makes even more work for me to update. So long story short, yeah, as a part of this work, I had to touch that core StreamPack code, and I'm a bit worried about it. I ask AI 100 of questions, not 100, but a lot, and I'm like, are you sure this is not gonna have any weird effect on anything? Because AI is, you know, it says, let's do this, let's do that. I just like research things with AI, and I'm like, have a look at this code. Think about all the crazy things that can happen. Are you sure it's okay to modify? And then we tweak it, and then I looked at it today, and I'm like, that's too many tweaks, let's clean it up. And I do, at least to some extent, try to clean up a lot and bundle all the changes as like one thing. And I'm like, okay, you know, there was a time I had to change it, and it was one change across many files, but it was one thing. If I ever have to revert it, it's a one thing I have to undo, and it's pretty clear what it was. Not like I'm doing all these tweaks all over the place and then it all gets mixed with other things and it's a mess. Like I'm okay to isolate something even if I don't fully understand it, and I'm like, okay, it's isolated, I can control what happens to it. So I have all kinds of things like that. That I do. Anyhow, did I switch? I think I could switch a couple more times to get a good sample size. How's the music? Okay, let's leave it at that. The end.